Okay, ready?
Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're joining us across the country. My name is Adam Ketchmarchi. I'm the Vice President of Educational Development here at the Pool and Hot Tub Alliance. As always, joined by my colleague Diana Bouts for the weekly PHTA webinar series. Today's webinar is Making the Most of Your PSP Expo Experience, a PHTA Insider Panel discussion. I'd like to welcome attendees and just do a few reminders before we get started. And that first reminder is actually get registered for the PSP and co-located deck expo happening in Las Vegas this month. October 19th to the 21st is the pre-con education, and then the expo kicks off October 22nd to the 24th. Again, that's at the Las Vegas Convention Center. You can search for the PSP and co-located deck expo and get registered now. We have a great number of Genesis educational offerings happening at Expo. You can visit the phta.org events calendar to see all of those great Genesis offerings. Our Genesis Roadshow also kicks off again in November. We'll be offering C281 with BioLab in Lawrenceville, Georgia, November 4th to the 6th. And then we'll be visiting our friends at Pentair offering E211 in Apex, North Carolina, November 11th to the 13th. You can head over to phta.org, click on Certification and Education, click on the Genesis Roadshow to get registered for those events. PHTA is also very excited to announce the launch of the new PHTA Center of Excellence. This is a new online learning platform that provides education across all of our industry sectors. We encourage members to head on over to phta.org/COE to learn more. We also have upcoming webinars. These happen every Wednesday at noon at PHTA. Next Wednesday's webinar is Industry Growth and Economic Trends, the launch of the new Market Intelligence Report. We'll be joined by PHTA Vice President of Industry Affairs and Research, Jeff Henriksen, for that presentation. And then on October 15th, we have a fantastic presentation, Sanctuaries in Stone, Steel, and Water, the biophilic pool movement, and that'll be hosted by Genesis faculty member Maria Moscato. Attendees at today's webinar can use the question and answer in the chat function at the bottom of your screen. This is a panel discussion, so we'll get to as many attendee questions as our time allots today. For today's discussion, I would like to welcome Dana Hicks, who's the group director at Informa, the group that puts on the Pool Spa Patio and co-located deck expo, as well as Jeannie Mendelson, my colleague, who is the vice president of educational sales and operations here at PHTA. I think you're both in the Eastern time zone, so good afternoon to you both.
Good afternoon, Adam.
Hello, Adam.
Hello. All right, let's get into today's discussion. And I want to start off, talking about if someone's never attended the PSP Expo before. Why is this such an important event for professionals in the pool spa and hot tub industry? Jeannie, would you like to kick us off?
Sure. It is the international show for the industry, coupling with PHTA as the sponsor. It's one of the largest events in the industry, and the education throughout the conference as well as the pre-conference is unmatched. The expo show floor has a lot of exciting things as you go through the 3 days to dabble in addition to speaking to exhibitors and taking part in networking with colleagues.
Awesome. Let's talk about, from your perspective, what makes this year's show in Las Vegas unique compared to last year's. Dana, would you like to get us started on this one? I know you're underway with a lot of planning this year.
Sure, sure. We've got some, our goal is to always refresh, update, make sure that we're listening to the audience and giving them what they're seeking. So, keynotes is a focus this year. We have 3 keynotes. We've never done that before. On the first day, we've got a really good PHTA industry panel discussion. We launched that last year and found it to be really meaningful, and the audience receives it well and learns a lot from it. So we want to replicate that. I also think it's really fun and important to have something inspirational, someone of celebrity at times, and so we're having Daryl Woodson speak on day 2 as a keynote. Um, so that's new and fresh. And usually, normally we'll have a big draw and people feel really inspired and, you know, special to be able to attend such a thing. And then on the last day, we're having another keynote, the Women of Water. Of course, that's powered with PHTA and Pool Corp. Um, the expo floor is where we always kind of reinvent, reinvigorate. We're doing like a Zen den because there's so much and fun things, or, hustle and bustle to what a trade show is, that this is a place to kind of actually maybe stop in and get away from it. We're having an energy bar. Um, we are having the IPA, which is the Innovative Products Showcase. I think that's really important. Those are some new things, and new products every year. I think it's a key part of the show floor for attendees to see. And while it's not new, I love the welcome reception, particularly when we're in Vegas, because you can have it at, it's what Vegas does so well. So it's at IU Day Club. And that is a fun thing to end day 1.
Yeah.
Lots of networking opportunity there, and in a really pretty cool environment.
That's great. And Jeannie, do you mind talking a little bit more about the Women of Water initiative that PHTA is launching and kind of kicking off at Expo this year?
Sure, we're very excited about that. It is the launch of a larger initiative, Women in Water. The keynote speaker is Heather Welpley. She has spoken at other industry events. It's very inspiring. The event is on Friday from 8 a.m. to 10:15. It includes engaging. There's going to be engaging exercises. There's breakfast. In addition to walking away with the information from Heather, I think people will walk away very motivated, very inspired, and an opportunity to engage with each other. It will be some icebreaker and networking events, as well as listening to her message. So I think there'll be a nice opportunity for women to connect with other women on that. And following that, we have webinars. We have 3 webinars with Heather that will roll out to continue that Women of Water, and we will continue events throughout the year, throughout the years. So it's a really nice initiative. We've heard a lot of great things from people looking for that connection.
Yeah, we're really excited to see that program come to fruition and launch.
And
I'm
you
gonna
get breakfast.
Yeah.
and there's breakfast. We gotta love that on the last day. I'm going to ask both of you the same question because I think the responses may be a little personal. How can a first-time attendee best frame their expectations before arriving? And I want us to keep in mind there's a lot happening the week of Expo in Las Vegas. There's a lot of education, there's opportunities for networking, there's the expo floor, of course. So how can those first-time attendees really, set and frame their expectations? Dana, would you like to start? Or Jeannie, go ahead. I saw you start.
I was going to say I'll get started and be a little broader, and then Dana can talk about the app and the specific tools that we have in place. But I think it's important when you look at the whole week, you decide really what your goals are, right? Because there are 7 days of education, including the pre-con, the actual conference, and then there's a post-con as well. So to decide your goals, look through, there's an extensive list, a schedule of all the events and what you really want to get out of the show. If you're looking for certification and education, you might want to concentrate on a pre-con, and then you might have to map you can only stay for 1 or 2 days of the expo. So you'll want to closely map out how you'll spend your time on the expo floor and with the networking events. So the most important thing would be, you have to travel, you have to book your flight, and you have to do all of those logistics, but really spend a little bit of time on mapping out what you want your experience to look like.
That's great. Thanks, Jeannie. Dana.
Sure. Thanks, Jamie. I think that gives really good insight to if it's your first time. There is some technology help that we have. So like our app is a really good tool. We also have my show planner inside the app and on the website so that you can plan while it's never perfect, you can at least get some really good ideas about how you want to tackle those days. So if you add them to My Show Planner, it gives you an agenda and it gives you understand where you're going to be on each day and when you're going to spend your time and how you're going to spend your time. I think a couple additions is there's matchmaking, both attendee to exhibitor and attendee to attendee. That's really interesting because you can meet your peers and you can make an appointments with exhibitors. That's really powerful. So if you have some exhibitors that you know that you want to spend some time with because they can advance your business or you just want to learn more about a certain product, you can reach out and make an appointment and a meeting at your desired time. And the same with peers. It's really fun to always meet like-minded people. Um, and now you can do that for the first time. We never used to have attendee to attendee. All of this is also has a physical presence on the show floor in like a lounge. So if you don't do the pre-planning, you can stop in that lounge and have someone help you and do some additional things on site there. So I think there's digital aspects that are really helpful. The exhibitor list, you can add favorites, you can search by products, you can search by exhibiting companies. Those are key things to help you define how you're going to approach the show. Because it's over as a first time attendee, it's overwhelming. They're big. I think they're bigger than what people think. There's a lot to cover. There's a lot of education, a lot of show floor, a lot of networking, downtime. So um I think that's from Jeannie and my side that those are some helpful tips for that first time person.
I'll add one more thing. If you're a new attendee that's a PHTA member as well, you can lean on those resources. There's a lot of information on our website. We have a big presence, a booth on the show floor. So come on in. You can meet people there. We'll certainly help you. Like Dana said, we can help you navigate the technology we have in place. But that would be a good place to rest your feet and get to know other members and let the PHTA staff help you navigate the show.
And
Great.
you have great presence right at the front of the exhibit hall, right? With this partnership with us and PHTA, of course, they have a premium location with a lot going on there. So like it's a great place to stop to source and see a lot of people and become members and um, connect with PHTA, who is an integral part in the driving force of this industry.
Love that. Jeannie, I want to focus the next couple questions on you, but Dana, if you have something to add, please feel free. I want to talk a little
Okay.
bit about some of the pre-conference education opportunities, specifically with Genesis. What does our pre-conference Genesis education cover this year, and who should prioritize those classes?
So this year, we have 4 pre-conference classes. We have the C201, which is the construction course, Genesis Concrete Construction course, and we have Elements of Design. Both of those lead through the CBP pathway. So I think someone looking to start in the pathway, that would be with the C201, or someone who's advancing through the pathway should prioritize those courses. The other 2 Genesis courses we're launching a tile course. It is a new master class on the pool tile installation. It's going to be interactive. There's going to be a hands-on portion. And we also have a construction superintendent. So those could be if someone wants to prioritize getting CEUs, or obviously if you're interested in one of those subjects or interested in getting to know more or learn more in those areas. All of our Genesis classes are led by expert faculty. So you'll be prioritizing on no matter what you pick, really learning from the best of the best. They mentor you afterwards. There's opportunities on site. There is for attendees of the programs. We have a happy hour on Monday night for Genesis pre-conference attendees. And that's just another opportunity for you to network, get to know the faculty, get to know staff, and get to know your peers going through the pathways and Genesis courses.
And I will say I'm super excited. I know there's so much great Genesis education that's going to be happening, but the tile course that you mentioned with Ken Milbury and Greg Andrews, really excited for that class. And you mentioned the hands-on component. Yes, there is going to be tile cutting happening in the convention center. Never thought I'd see emails on that. But, it is truly going to be hands-on, and it's a really cool experience for attendees to learn from those experts and not just the theory in the classroom, but actually get to go over with them and learn how they cut tile and really work with those materials hands-on. What about service professionals? I know we have the CPO class going on. I believe CPI is happening. What other educational activities can our service pros look forward to at the expo?
For the pre-con, we also have CMS, which is the maintenance specialist. So those three, again, looking at what to prioritize. If you're looking for certifications, all three of those courses lead to a professional certification. The CMS is the certified maintenance specialist, CPO is the pool operator, and the CPI is the certified pool inspector. So if you're looking to get a certification, those are ones you'll want to look at on the service side. There's additional education throughout the week. So if you are able to do both and you're going to stay and continue on to the expo and the education, there are many classes for service professionals that span, all sorts of topics. Additionally, I should say with all the pre-conference courses, you do get a super pass. So you do get all of the conference education as well. So it's a really packed week for learning, networking, CEUs, anything you need in order to continue through a pathway to a certification. So that's.
I'm going to ask both of you this question. What would you say to someone who is they're more interested maybe on the outset of coming and walking the show floor and really kind of diving into the expo component of the program? What would you say to someone who is questioning, should I attend education at the show? Should I attend the conference? Should I attend any Genesis courses? I know there's some on-floor education as well happening, some of those sessions, including at the Genesis Solutions Center. So what's the value of investing in that education in addition to being there for the expo? Dane, I'll start with you and then we'll go to Jeannie.
Sure. I mean, we place a tremendous value on education, and that's why this partnership with PHTA, who has Genesis, is so brilliant because it's the premier offering. It's so important to this industry, so they can deep dive there, and I think get CEUs. These things drive their business. It drives who they are. It makes them smarter. They learn. It's builders, it's techs, it's retailers, it's everyone. I think the expo floor complements that. So it's such a rich offering in a short amount of time. So now you can go see product innovations, product development, and those type of things on the expo floor. Um, we also complement that on the expo days with education, still driven greatly and closely with PHTA, because you guys are such content leaders to help us make sure that we offer relevant information and education, shorter format. So if you only have an hour, you can do those type of things. And then it's just the last thing, which is, I think, one of the most important things is the networking. It happens when you're standing in line having a sandwich. It happens at the welcome reception. It happens at the awards, reception. It happens all over the place. And I think all those things combined make it so valuable to just step aside and take a few days away from work to advance yourself in your career.
Yeah, great. Jeannie?
Agreed. The biggest thing I think with education and with these opportunities is getting out of the office, right? So if you're attending in any capacity, you've already gotten that down pat, you're out of the office. So you might as well make the most of it. So, again, if you can be there for only the 3 core days, going to the education will only make your experience so much more deep and rich. You'll be able to do the education, talk to some of the people that have educated you, or, then now that you've learned, kind of go in and explore some of those products. So it's really it's very simpatico, right? With you don't want to just go to the show floor. There's so much offered and you're already there, you've already paid your money, so you might as well get the most out of it. If you can go, to pre-con, or your goal is to go to pre-con, that's in and of itself, you're spending a lot of time and energy to go to an in-depth class. One more day to get that show floor experience makes so much sense. Again, you're already out of the office, you've already paid for your flight, you might as well, because they really do. That's the whole idea of a conference of this magnitude, is to get it all. You'll get the cutting edge things you see on the show floor. You'll get more networking opportunities, as well as the in-depth education you were looking for. So it's a great match.
I love what you both said about getting out of the office because, in today's, I guess, post-pandemic world, we do lean a lot into the virtual tools that we now have, right? Even such as these webinars or, quick Zoom meetings or Teams meetings. And sometimes we lose that personal touch. Just coming off of the mastermind gathering that PHTA had last week, that was a fantastic summit. And it kind of reminded me the importance of that in-person interaction and that networking component that you miss. Yes, education come in a different format, but even that robustness of having that in-person education is really incredible. So I love what we're doing to balance both of those approaches. I do want to talk about networking. That's next up on the list, and let's talk about can't miss networking opportunities at the expo. So, what events are on your mind of things that you just can't miss from a networking perspective once we get to Las Vegas?
So I would say the Awards of Excellence, that kicks us
Mhm.
off, and that would start your week, your conference week. That is Tuesday night, and that's the PHTA Awards of Excellence. And it really is a fun, engaging program that brings together a lot of big industry players and your peers, for sure, celebrating those people who won, those companies who won an award for their excellence. And a lot of those people go through the education, and you can see if whether you're winning an award, or you want to see what to aspire to. There's so much in that one event. And as Dana pointed out, we all like food and beverage, so there is food as well. But it really is a star-studded night. It's a very well done production, so that's a surefire bet for a networking event. I would also say that, we have other specialty networking events. There's the WAVE event, which is a happy hour on the show floor, and that is for young professionals. Again, depending on your demographic, a great opportunity to get to know other people, learn what their path is, learn how they're going about it, and also you could meet a new conference buddy right off the bat, which is always fun. The other ones we have is the IHTA Lunch and Learn, which is for the International Hot Tub Alliance, and that's going to be a little bit of a deep dive and an opportunity to see what that alliance does. So if that's in your bailiwick, or if that's your segment of the industry, again, you're being fed, and you can meet other people in your segment of the industry. And then, of course, we already mentioned, but the Women of Water event, wow, is something to attend on Friday. It's going to really kick off an amazing new program and just be a really vibrant first launch.
Awesome. Dana, is it the same list for you, or do you have any other events on your mind?
That's why we partner with like PHTA, right? Because it allows us to give some of the most relevant, industry and small and large format groups at our show. We want to offer things to women. We want to offer awards. We want to be, board meetings. We want to be, have the show represent all different, pieces of the industry. So there's a lot of them that what we do is give the opportunity to PHTA, but I had mentioned the welcome reception. We have the $1 Million Pool Challenge. there's networking things on the show floor. There's the innovative product showcase on the show floor. All those different types of things are smaller format ways to network as well,
That's
and to
great.
find like-minded people. And I think we're always trying to do that.
Yeah, and one of the things, and I think Dana, you may have hit on this already, but it's the networking. We have specific events for networking at Expo, but the networking can really happen at any time while you're in Las Vegas. And I think about you're standing there on the first day in line to get your badge, and even before you go to your first session or hit the expo floor, those people you're standing in line with, you're striking up that conversation with.
Hmm.
I remember an expo in past years where it started at the airport. I was standing in the taxi line at the
Yes.
airport and I said, "What are you here for?" "Oh, I'm here for, the Pool Spa Patio Expo." And you start to develop those how do we turn though that casual conversation into really meaningful networking opportunities? Do either of you have any suggestions for that for first-time attendees?
I think deepening, make sure you follow up with the connection, but even while you're speaking, there are opportunities, to make sure I'll meet you at this event, or, to utilize, if met someone in line for a sandwich, you can talk about, what are you doing this week? You can kind of engage and try to see maybe what their segment is, or see where you guys could make a connection. I think would be the most important thing. Maybe they're from your hometown, or your sister's where she lives now. You want to use that that information to deepen the connection. So when you do follow up, you're remembered.
I think, to add to that, there's like, I'm always looking for, and I love when it's someone that's in my town. So like that might happen at the airport while I'm waiting because we're on the same plane. Or we both do the same thing for a living. And I think to ask questions so you can follow up and deepen that connection rather than just the few minutes you have together. Exhibitor ones are the most obvious, right? You're going to go there, formally see a group of, exhibitors to drive, your business. But those other type of connections are more personal, and I think it's even more important to follow up with that. Um, in whatever format you want, social, email, phone, meeting for coffee, all those kind of things. Because I think you you learn from each other.
Mhm.
And if you do exchange contact information, just a quick text to say, like, great to meet you,
Yes.
right away is a great way to just further that connection,
Sharing contact information via phone is a pretty easy thing to do these days.
right?
Yes, it is. I I want to finish up our strategy conversation and talk about the expo floor, but before we do that, there's one additional question that I want to ask you, and it really goes along the lines of reaching out to someone prior to Expo. I will say, I know there's a number of industry stars that I would love to meet at Expo, right? And if there's someone you're really looking to connect with, someone maybe you saw teach or taught a class before, maybe they've been on our webinar series, maybe they're just that industry legend that you'd love to have the opportunity to interact with. Is that something that you should expect to happen just serendipitously on the show floor and try to run into that person? Or do you recommend reaching out ahead of time and saying, "Hey, I'd love to meet you. Will you be in Las Vegas? Can we set up a time to grab a coffee or meet on the expo floor?" What do you suggest for those new attendees?
I would definitely say, if you have someone you want to meet and they're going to be there, it would be great to reach out. And don't be afraid, right? Like, because if they are speaking, or if they are there, they want to meet people. They want to impart their wisdom upon the industry, and they want to give back. So no one, I don't think you would be met with any reluctance. I think anyone that's speaking or a part of the show that you might want to meet is willing to do that, and will be really probably taken a little back, but in a good way. Like, yeah. And they probably would immediately say, I'd love to meet you for coffee, because of the initiative and the idea of planning ahead, because a lot of people do plan their schedules and have meetings. So if you are looking to meet a specific person, I would definitely say, connect prior to if you can.
I think that there's easier ways to do it, like exhibitors and attendees. We actually have platforms that I've shared. But if it's a speaker or if it's someone of elevation and you're not sure, and the platform is not offering the connection opportunity, I'd say reach out to PHTA, reach out to, show management and just ask, because everyone is there to connect. It's the whole purpose. And whether speakers love to connect as much, it's why they're speaking. It's it's their passion for what their topic is, and to hear from someone that raising their hand saying, "I'm interested," is going to be received well.
Yeah, great suggestions. We do have an attendee question, and I love this timing of this question because it moves us right onto the conversation about the expo floor. Um, let's talk about education happening on the expo floor because I know we've talked about pre-conference and post-conference and the actual education conference, but there is education that does happen on the show floor. So let's talk about that just for just a moment, and then we'll talk about planning that expo floor experience. Jeannie, you want to kick us off?
Absolutely. There's a lot of show floor education. We have, right when you walk in, as Dana said, great location. We have the Genesis Solution Center, and there are sessions throughout the week, throughout the hours. So anytime you're on the show floor and want to hit education, you can. They are in the app, they're online, so you can make that a part of your schedule. You're going to go and you're going to spend 3 hours on the show floor and you want to see this, spend 1 hour in education. There's that opportunity. There's show floor education that Dana can talk a little more in depth about as well, which PHTA worked with the show on some of the speakers for that as well. So there are opportunities on the show floor. If you didn't get the conference pass to go to education, like Adam just said, there are opportunities if you're just there for the expo. You can get high quality education all 3 days.
Let's talk a little bit more about planning that expo floor experience. I know there's a number of different ways we can approach planning out a show floor experience, right? You can go to the show's website and really dive into the floor plan. And I think, Dana, you mentioned kind of searching through the different exhibitors by product type, by different categories. Um, is that what you recommend to attendees, or should they come and just kind of walk the show floor and experience? What do you recommend as far as having a plan of attack, let's call it, before they arrive on the show floor?
I would do a little of both, right? You want to plan so that you can achieve the important things that you want to satisfy while you're there. But I think it's very important to leave time for the unexpected. There's so many things on that expo floor because it's pretty s- large in square footage. Wear comfortable shoes. You're going to do a lot of steps, so that you have time to just navigate and see things that you didn't plan for, because sometimes those things become just as important. There's so many fun things that you weren't thinking about on the expo floor because the industry is represented there. And that navigation and those newfound things that you didn't know about is very much an important part of the charm of being live in person to see those things. Um, and you can do a lot of good homework, like I said, especially just the app is a great place. Um, and an app is best served when you've downloaded it and started paying attention and doing some homework before the show. You're going to know how to navigate that app better. You can do favorites. You can do product categories, right? That's very meaningful to be able to not only search exhibitors, but search the categories and those products that are important to you so that you can earmark and be efficient with your time. Because it's a lot to try to squeeze in, so you want to be efficient with it. But I do think leaving some undefined exploration time is also really important.
I love that, actually. Yeah, leave some time because, again, as we talked about networking, you might be talking with someone and they had a different idea, and you think, oh, yeah, I have time for that. I didn't know that, or I didn't see that, or I missed that. So, kind of planning for the unexpected is also great advice.
What advice do you have for someone? I think this is going to get a little granular, but let's say I know that there's a particular company exhibiting on the floor that I really need to talk to, or I'd really like to make a connection with. What kind of preparation should go into that? Because I know, the show floor might be tough for a company or one person to have a hour-long conversation, how should someone prepare for that? Should they reach out to the exhibitor ahead of time, set up a time? Should they come with some prepared questions? That way they're, making sure they get their questions answered that they want to during that first interaction. What suggestions do you have?
I think that matchmaker that Dana mentioned earlier, that is basically a way to set up appointments. And so, sometimes it can be daunting walking into an exhibit booth. There's lots of people talking. You kind of could stand there if the salesperson or somebody doesn't walk up to you. So the matchmaker feature does really basically set up that appointment. So that would be the first thing I would say. If you have time, if you can set up that appointment. And then, yeah, if there's specific things you want to accomplish in that meeting, I would have a few questions prepared for your meeting so you can really get the most out of that. But then again, I think we've said it, but the main thing with something like this event, it's just a start, right? That we're talking about networking, you're making connections, you're learning brand new things. You might have follow-up questions for speakers or fellow people in the class. So this is really your starting point. So use that hour to start that connection or that relationship with that vendor or that exhibitor, and you're going to hopefully you're going to build on that.
Great suggestion.
There's intent. Exhibitors are there to meet people, to talk about their products and services they offer. So, it's different than walking into a showroom and parking your car and going to the company. That this is literally why they're there. The people that are hosting and are and working the booth are like-minded, or people who are there to interact. It's what they want to do, and if they don't get interaction, then they're disappointed. So, like, don't be shy and don't think they don't want to. They'll embrace you and be happy for the opportunity to talk about the company and the products they have.
Great suggestions. Dana, if you could talk briefly, I know we've talked planning education, planning your show floor experience. I know we're also in Las Vegas where there are a lot of other activities to participate in. What tools do we have where someone can kind of map out their show experience? Is there something they can do to map out kind of the activities they want to do and bookmark them? That way
Hmm.
they can kind of pull that together into one schedule.
Yeah, there's like my show planner. Um, and I recommend that people take advantage of use of that. That is a digital component of the mobile app. And that way you can earmark activities, not only just sessions, but activities of all the different things that are happening each day, from content programming on the hour or deep dive for the day to awards presentations and receptions in the evening, the welcome reception. All the different activities that are going on are like in an agenda, and you can save that. And I think it will help you uh, give some structure so you know when and where you need to be. And it gives you your gap places too. So, like, oh, I can go do something, I can eat here, I can have a water, I might be able to like have 2 hours to go on the expo floor, and that's my exploration time. But there's a very, I think, being intentional and making a plan with for yourself through an agenda, planner is a really good way to help you get the most out of a day.
Yeah. And I want to ask this question. This has helped me going to events like Expo in the past where there's so much opportunity spread out so many days and so many activities and events that it may be hard to hit everything that you want to hit. And one of the things that I do in those situations is before I even, make that agenda or build that schedules, I set a couple goals that I want to achieve. I want to, here are companies that I want to interact with, here are people I want to meet, here's education that's high priority for me. And maybe that helps you, at least it helps me kind of framework out where if I have to make a tough choice on I can't be, I joke all the time with Jeannie, they haven't invented cloning technology yet. I'm an early investor if they're starting on that. But we haven't
That's
been
a
able
good
to
point,
twin
Adam.
ourselves, right? So
Yeah.
you have to make that hard decision. I think setting out those goals early can help you identify that. Do you agree with that, or do you have any other suggestions for goal setting for the event?
I agree with it 100%. But like you said, you can't be everywhere. So you have to also try to expect the unexpected. You might, so prioritizing those goals, I think, is important. If you have, two exhibitors and two sessions you want to see, go get to those exhibitors kind of quick. Make those appointments early, or if you're on the show floor, get over there quick so you can kind of check those priorities off. Same with the sessions. If there's two subject matter or subjects you want to see, make those a priority. Protect those times. If it's at Thursday at 8 a.m., you want to, get there and protect that time because there is a lot of things to do and see, but prioritizing will hopefully make sure you hit those goals and can also see the new things you weren't expecting.
Mm.
That, you want to make sure you get your primary things done, and then you may have secondary things, right? And then there might be tertiary, and those things are nice to have happen, but I don't have to achieve them all.
Yeah, great suggestions. Now to get to my favorite part of this discussion, what I've been looking forward to the most, and that's our insider tips and most importantly, pitfalls to avoid. And I want to start with those pitfalls. I'm going to give mine first, which is don't wear shoes for style, wear shoes for comfort the week of Expo. My first Expo, it was about a decade ago, and I remember I wore shoes on the first 2 days for style, and on the third day, oh, it was a rough day. What are some other common mistakes that first timers tend to make when they attend their first Expo, and how can we help them avoid those?
I think the pre-planning that we've talked a lot about is one thing. We just had mastermind as Adam said, and we laugh at people who get off the plane and go, "What's the address?" Like, if you know where you're going and if you do that pre-planning, you will get more out of the experience. You stole mine, Adam. I was going to talk about shoes too, although I tend to go for fashion. So I have learned my lesson many times. So now I try to find a comfortable, good-looking shoe. But also hydrate. I would say there's lots of opportunities. Have a water in your bag. There's lots of people giving out waters. Believe it or not, it'll get to you if you're not hydrated and just keep going, since there's so much to do.
Great
I
suggestion.
think in Vegas, lip balm. Something about water, lip balm, both are I know, raised in elevation. It's a dry climate, and I think people um like gravitate to those. I also I think it's both of those are something an exhibitor should give away all the time because I think they're in high demand. Um, we were talking about this just yesterday, and I think more now than ever, there's travel hiccups. And while you can't prevent it, I think understanding that going into it and as best you can, leaving room for it. Um, Flights are delayed, flights are not as timely. Um, and another thing that I think that I do for myself in Vegas that I didn't do a few years ago is making some reservations, particularly restaurant reservations and dinner reservations. If there's any place that you look, there's world-class places to eat there, and there's just fun places to eat too that you may not have the opportunity from where you live. But when you can, having some reservations, if you don't, you may not be able to go to the place that you want. And I've learned that the hard way. So I do think I never used to consider that, but I do consider that now. Some reservations for meals. Um, and I think we've covered we've covered the other ones. But oh, one other thing is like in Vegas, I find this true to be true. You might see where you want to go, and it could take a heck of a lot longer to get there than you
Yes.
think. Just because you see it doesn't mean it's 5 minutes. If you're
That is,
yeah. So whatever mode of transportation, um, leaving your, leaving at 8:45 to make a 9 o'clock session, it it certainly better be in the building, but things are further away and take more time, and there's more traffic considerations and walking considerations that aren't a straight line in Vegas than one might think.
That's a great point.
and I would also encourage look at the different transportation options that are available to you to
Yes.
navigate
Yeah,
the city
it's a
because
good one.
if you're at Resorts World, there's the loop that, will take you underground on the Teslas. There's taxis, Ubers, there is some bus service through the city. There's the monorail, depending on where you're staying, depending on how far your distance is and where you're looking to go. There's a lot of different options you have from a transportation mode that can also come at a variety of price points as well to navigate the
Yeah.
city.
And you like asking where you check in to stay probably could help you because they're going to have that vantage point of what's available at their property or in the different aspects that you mentioned because there are a lot of different avenues and price points.
Yeah.
And like
Um,
you said, that someone mentioned in the chat, I think traffic. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. A lot happens in Vegas, so you have to really anticipate the unexpected with traffic or even foot traffic. I've been where you're walking along and all of a sudden you have to stop because they're doing construction or something for a while. So that's a great point, Dana.
How can attendees keep from burning out during such a packed week? Is there anything other than comfortable shoes, water, and lip balm that can help ensure burnout stays at bay?
I think that again, I hate to keep going back to the planning, but if you kind of get your schedule, so you can decide when you're going to get up and you do want some downtime. There's a lot going on.
Yes.
Dana mentioned the Zen Den. There's opportunities on the show floor, but there is so much in Vegas as well. So maybe planning, just time away from the talking and time away from all of that a little bit. Sit out by the pool of your hotel when you have a little free time in your schedule to just kind of recuperate and regenerate, I think is a good idea.
I think planning for those things, if you
Yeah,
don't and you need it, is important. If you're that type who needs your own downtime, then put it in
take
your
it.
schedule. Take it.
And I will say mine's going to be sleep. It is
Yeah.
important to still get sleep, even though you're in Vegas and there's a lot happening. You are going to be up and moving a lot during the days. Are there any underrated sessions, events, or resources that people often overlook with Expo? Is there something that, those of us that are so close to it, maybe we wish attendees got their eyes on something a little bit more. Maybe they utilized a planning tool or a resource better. Is there one thing you wish attendees paid a little bit more attention to?
I
I
think
think
matchmaking from my point, like people don't um follow through with that. And it's a real opportunity to meet um people in an appointment schedule. And so it can be really it can make your time use wiser because you're going to see these important things because you've done the homework and done some matchmaking and that's it's an unusual and different thing, but it's a tool that can really help make your day more efficient.
Great suggestion.
And I would say don't estimate that downtime, right? Whether that be you need it for yourself or just like we said earlier, if you're sitting at somewhere having a soda to recuperate a little bit, you never know who you're going to meet. So, all of that is a part of the whole experience. So I wouldn't underestimate if you feel like you need downtime or you need time away. Your peers and everyone's all over the place, so you never know what's going to happen.
That's great suggestions. And we're winding down on our last couple of minutes of the webinar. So I'm going to pose my final question to both of you. And I know there's a lot of them, but if you had to pick your top pro tip to share with a new attendee, I know we've covered education, planning, networking, show floor experience, even a little couple Vegas tips today. But what would be that one big pro tip that if someone had to walk away from this webinar going, okay, I'm going to do one thing to better my experience at the expo, what would you pick? Jeannie, we'll start with you.
I guess I'd have to say that pre-planning, if you have that plan, that includes downtime and that includes, what you need to regenerate, that'll be best because otherwise, if you hit the ground running without any of that, and on the plane, that's a great time to do that, whether you're on a plane for an hour or 4 hours, you have that time. So even if you wait till then, you do have time to even do a little pre-planning, but it really will help you navigate the whole thing. And something we didn't say, this, I don't know if I'd consider it my biggest pro tip, but if you are a new person, or we always say this on the planning side, people are everywhere. So, if you're sitting at a restaurant, don't talk about anyone. Don't think nobody's listening. You'll find people all through the city, on your flight, on your transportation. So, just be aware of your goals for the week and enjoy.
Great suggestions, Jeannie. Dana.
Maybe because I will do this sometimes myself, even watching TV, because there's so many devices and things that you can do. It's an in-person event, so be present. Just be present, make the most of your connections, and I would try to, like, those important connections, whatever they may be, don't forget about them next week and follow up and continue those connections, because that can make, instead of it being just an in-time event for a few days, it can live longer and it can be more enriching and it can be more meaningful for you. And then, and I also think just share with your coworkers, share with your colleagues, share everything, because if they didn't get to go, um, you can have some knowledge or presentations and things that can give them a flavor for what they weren't able to be a part of.
Great suggestions. And I'm going to tack one on. My best pro tip is obviously going to be as Jeannie said, fashionable but comfortable footwear. But no, on a serious note, I've attended Expo for a number of years before I joined the staff at PHTA, and if you're a new attendee, get out there and meet people. This industry is in a big way one big family, and I remember the last time at Expo was in Vegas, and I had literally just gotten to my room, sat my stuff down, came downstairs to meet someone, and before I could even meet the person I was intending, there were calls from the bar. Hey, Adam, come on over. And it almost feels like that family reunion for the industry. So, be present in that moment, as Dana said, plan your experience, but really soak that all up. This is a wonderful industry, and everyone is so welcoming to new folks. Dana, Jeannie, thank you for joining us for today's webinar, and thank you for all you do to plan this expo for the industry and make it the best possible experience for our industry members. We look forward to seeing you here in just a couple of weeks in Las Vegas. Just a couple of reminders before we end today's webinar. Registration is open for Expo, the International Pool Spa Patio and co-located deck expo. Pre-con is October 19th to the 21st, with the expo show floor being open October 22nd to 24th. All of that happening at the Las Vegas Convention Center. There is still time to book your hotel room and register for the expo experience. Our Genesis Roadshow kicks off again in November. We'll be offering C281 with BioLab in Lawrenceville, Georgia. That happens November 4th to the 6th. Then we'll be with our friends at Pentair in Apex, North Carolina, offering E211. That's happening November 11th to the 13th. We also have just launched the new PHTA Center of Excellence. You can head over to phta.org/COE to learn about that new online learning platform and experience, and also check out our new version of ClassPass available to you. Next week on the PHTA Weekly Webinar Series, we'll have industry growth and economic trends, the launch of the new Market Intelligence Report. Jeff Hendrickson, the VP of Industry Affairs and Research at PHTA, will be joining us for that presentation. And then on October 15th, we'll have sanctuaries in stone, steel, and water. The biophilic, Jenny. Oh, the day has come too soon. The biophilic pool movement. There we go. And that's going to be taught by Genesis faculty member Maria Moscato. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Dana, Jeannie, thank you for joining us. And Diana, as always, thanks for helping us put the webinar series together. We'll see everyone next week.
Thank you,
Bye-bye. See you
Bye,
soon.
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.